Good afternoon and welcome to our 46th Annual Kalevala Day celebration organized by Finnish Choral Society of Seattle. This year our program is featuring Kantele, a national Finnish instrument. We have dedicated this celebration to Kantele master Wilho, who passed away early this year in Nassau, Washington. Wilho's family had a long Kantele tradition. His great-great-grandmother was notable Greta Haapasalo, who was the first female Kantele player ever, who earned her living for her and her family by playing Kantele. Among other things, she also composed a song called Mun Kanteleeni, My Kantele, which is the most well-known Kantele song ever in Finland. During the years, Wilho was awarded with several recognitions. In 2005, he was awarded the Governor's Heritage Award in the state of Washington for his work popularizing and teaching the Kantele. 2006, he was honored with the National Endowment for the Arts Heritage Fellowship, the country's highest honor in folk and traditional arts. 2011, he was named Finlandia Foundation Nationals Performer of the Year, and he and his wife Kaisa were traveling around the country, and every concert they played, they finished the concert by playing Mun Kanteleeni and singing together. We want to honor Wilho's remarkable work and achievements in Kantele music as an instructor, mentor, performer, very productive composer, and a remarkable person and friend. During the years, Wilho wrote over 2,400 Kantele compositions. In 2008, Dr. Arja Kastinen from Finland met with Wilho in Nassau, Washington, and learned about his music production. 2 years later, Dr. Kastinen published a collection called Tune a Day that includes 365 of Wilho's compositions. Today you will hear a few of them. Tervetuloa!
Ystävät iloinen poistetsit luotain taat kaukaisten merien, vuorten ja laksojen lämpöä kaivaten auringon suuntasi, tiesistä ystäväni muu. Mun otsän luonani muistoissaan lähellä, kunnes taas sannoksen suu. Tietystävyyden kun kohtaavat uudelleen, maailma taas on koti-imuu. Syysiset tuulet toi talven ja kylmyyden, ystäväin poissaan kaivaten ootan, kun aurinko jälleen suon lämmön ja luoksen sun, palataan ystäväni muu. Mun otsän luonani muistoissaan lähellä, kunnes Tietystävyyden kun kohtaavat uudelleen, maailma taas on kotini muu. Muista, suronpäivä, kuuluu mahtava maineikas. Muista, suronpäivä, ja lempeä laulurikas. Lauluin voitavi vaskivuoret, lauluin pirstoviparet suuret. Lauluin voitavi vanhat nuoret, lauluin lekinsä sydän juuret, lauluin laimeet kiinnyttää, lauluin vihaiset viihdyttää. Mainen rikkaus muuttuu, vaihtuu, taitoja uusia tarvitaan. Työtkin suuret, kun on haettu, väinön kannel ei milloinkaan. Lauluin voittavi vaskivuoret, lauluin pirstoviparet suuret, lauluin voittavi vanhat nuoret, lauluin lekinsä sydän juuret, lauluin laimeet kiinnyttää, lauluin vihaiset viihdyttää. Mainen rikkaus muuttuu, vaihtuu, taitoja uusia tarvitaan. Työtkin suuret, kun on haettu, väinön kannel ei milloinkaan.
Dear Kantele friends, my name is Arja Kastinen and I would like to tell you how I have experienced Wilho Kantele music. Wilho was part of the creative Kantele tradition reaching beyond generations. His great-great-grandmother was Greta Haapasalo, the most famous peasant woman of the 19th century in the Grand Duchy of Finland. For more than 40 years, Greta Jaakko's daughter from the house of Haapasalo traveled and performed all over Finland and even visited St. Petersburg and Stockholm a few times, making the Kantele known among both nobles and peasants. Perhaps the most well-known song nowadays connected to her is the hymn Mun Kanteleeni, which was part of Wilho repertoire as well. This recording is from the album Wilhon vinkiltä. Greta Haapasalo was born in the so-called Perhonjokilax area in Kaustinen, Western Finland. During her childhood in the early 19th century, the kanteles were small and hollowed out from one piece of wood. Gradually, the instrument was developed into bigger models made of several pieces of wood. In this painting from 1857 by Robert Wilhelm Ekman, Haapasalo plays a delicate small kantele made of several pieces of wood, but the end side has still a ponsi board much the same as in the holukanteles. And here, in the painting by Ekman from 1868, Haapasalo has now a kantele with a round end. This model is thought to have been developed in the Perhonjokilax area sometime at the turn of the 1850s and 1860s. At the Jyväskylä Song Festival in 1887, Greta Haapasalo, her daughter Sofia Räisänen, and sister's daughter Sanna Purola played already big new models of the round-end kanteles. It was Haapasalo who brought the idea of this kind of kantele to Karelian kantele players as she performed in eastern Finland. Thus, at the beginning of the 20th century, this kind of kantele was pretty popular in the Ladoga Karelia as well. The skill of playing the kantele was passed down from generation to generation, and thus Greta Haapasalo's grandson Matti Leppäsaari was a kantele player, as was his son Wilho Leppäsaari, later known as Wilho Saari Sr. Wilho came from Halsua to the USA in 1915 with the wave of Finnish immigration, following his two elder brothers who were naturally kantele players as well. Although Wilho Saari Jr. grew up hearing his father playing the kantele almost every night after work, and he himself played several instruments as a child, he did not start playing the kantele until he was 50 years old in 1982, 14 years after his father passed away. According to the Perhonjokilax style, the kantele is played from the short side. This was the way all previous generations of Wilho had played, but Wilho decided to learn to play from the long side, and although he knew the short side technique too, this became his natural way of playing. During his many visits to Finland, Wilho met lots of well-known traditional Finnish kantele players like his father's first cousin Eino Tulikari, or Viljo Karvonen, Toivo Alaspää, and several others. In 1987, he bought a 36-string kantele made by Jussi Alakuha in Kaustinen, and mainly used this instrument during the coming decades. Like all folk musicians before him, he created his individual way of playing the kantele based on his cultural heritage. Except for playing from the long side, his hand position on the strings resembled most of the traditional Perhonjokilaxo kantele players. Fingertips hit the strings at an almost right angle, and his entire being was quite plain with no big gestures. The touch was firm, and the sound bright and strong. In addition, he moved his hands on the strings in different octaves naturally during his playing, sometimes even changing places of both hands, and thus varying between different octaves. Sometimes he placed the kantele on a low table, supporting his right elbow on his right knee. Usually, his left arm rested on the round side and the damping board of the kantele. Against the Perhonjokilakso playing technique, he also used the damping board between the chord chains, and sometimes to give a particular effect on the music, like in this song, The Muffin Man. The kantele became an interpreter of Wilho's feelings and thoughts. Like the kantele players in Finland for hundreds of years before him, Wilho started to create music on the kantele about events in his everyday life. Since he was a trained musician and worked as a teacher, it was quite natural for him to start writing down his kantele music. This resulted in several thousand songs. In 1992, Wilho received a 10-string kantele as a retirement gift made by his daughter's husband, Greg Nelson. And in the same way as with the big kantele 10 years earlier, he entered the world of this new instrument with joy, curiosity, and desire to experiment. Over 90 new tunes were written in the first 6 months. I met Wilho through Satu Mikkola and the kantele group Livakat, which Wilho was teaching. In 2009, we agreed that I would publish Wilho's kantele compositions as a book in Finland and send copies to him. I received several packets of his compositions from over 2 decades. We discussed the work via email, and I started to choose and edit the songs. The book Tune a Day, with 365 songs, was published in 2010. It contains compositions for the 36, 10 and 5-string kanteles. There are 4 songs arranged by me for the kantele group Livakat and a choral arrangement by Denise Reed Hines. One of the 10-string kantele tunes is composed by Vilosari's daughter Karen Nelson. Many of the songs are titled only with a number, sometimes having an additional comment like a diary note about daily events or special occasions. The challenge for the reader is to understand the living spirit of the tradition and see beyond the frozen sheet music. According to Wilho, he seldom played any tune in the same way. He varied his music all the time. For example, by changing the left-hand chord patterns from whole chords into arpeggios, broken chords with different rhythms and inversions, or by adding glissandos and ornaments into melody. We need to learn to understand the aesthetics and the value of this kind of music. The notes are not only played, but each one of them is lived. The music transforms according to each moment in the musician's life. The importance lies in the meaning of that moment.
Oi, muistatko vielä sen virren, jota lapsena laulettiin? Kun ylikin ikkunan liikkui, se virsi, se viihdytti niin. Se antoi rintaan kun ärjyvät rannan hyrskyt, niin kantelo vierasti soi. Kun ulvoivat saksen myrskyt, se kevättä rintahan toi. Vei maailma riemuni soitan ja rintani rauhan se vei. Ja jos vieläkin kantelo kaikaa, niin iloa kaiu se ei. Soi vienosti murheeni soittaa, soi hellästi kauhuni soi. Mut helmin heräsi hälle, joka
Kaksipa poikaa kuurikasta niin komiasti liikkuu. Kaksipa poikaa kuurikasta niin komiasti liikkuu. Punaiset oli resorit ja hopeasta peslai piippu. Ei punaiset oli resorit ja hopeasta peslai piippu. Nostapa poika se kukkuva kello, kukkuva kello, kukkuva kello. Nostapa poika se kukkuva kello, kamarisi seinälle kukkumaan. Julkalas iltasi kruusiin naara, kuumelin naara, tuuliin naara. Julkalas iltasi kruusiin naara, runnain luupasi liikaa vaan. Kassapa maalan pari, onko kesluja? Kassapa on lapseni, mikäs illaan. Isä saati saa, ja äiti hanosen, ja piippuiset kämpöset on saa. Tämä se on vain täyteääni, täyteääni ja täyteääni. Tämä se on vain täyteääni, eikä